Part 2. Transformed into a comic book artist. Author, Miao by Shen Wu. Chapter 11. What is Susienner doing now? She is now rummaging through the trash can downstairs. Don't get me wrong, she doesn't have the habit of picking up trash. I didn't expect that as a time traveler, I would be trapped by money. Susienner took the flyer she found in the trash can, covered her nose, and then went upstairs. Looking at this Honkai Impact 3rd flyer, Susienner looked disgusted. As a mobile game that cheated her in her previous life, she naturally didn't have a good impression of it. You know, she was cheated into spending tens of thousands of Krypton gold on this game, but the Krypton gold experience was very bad. But now she has no money on her. And because she had to draw a book, she refused Lin Jingshu to cook for her, mainly because she was afraid that the other party would see it. After all, this is not something that children should watch. In addition to the time difference confusion of the home attribute, basically when Lin Jingshu wanted to see her, she was sleeping. So, except for the last meal cooked by Lin Jingshu, she ordered takeout every day, plus the game Krypton Gold. The total assets on her body were only a few hundred yuan. A few hundred yuan to last until the 10th of next month. How is that possible? So the lazy Susienner could only go downstairs in the scorching sun with a dying expression to pick up the flyer. After looking at the flyer and throwing it into the trash can again, Susienner opened MiHoYo's official website. Sure enough, there was a collection of standing drawings. She Baidu searched and found that MiHoYo had really put a lot of effort into this collection. Baidu promotion, Alipay promotion, WeChat promotion, QQ promotion, B Station. This standing drawing activity was so loud that Susienner was surprised. After all, MiHoYo had never promoted Honkai Impact 3rd so hard in China in his previous life. But after thinking about it, the world was different, so she didn't bother about it. This time, MiHoYo's activity had no threshold and was basically open to all painters in China. Of course, the first round of review was online. After all, the first round was equivalent to an audition, and it was impossible to review it in the company, and the painting could not be completed in a short time. After checking the time, the event lasted for 15 days and ended at 8 p.m. on September 9th. Today was already the afternoon of September 8th, which meant she still had one day. Then I looked at the requirements on the website and found that the requirements were very low. As long as you create a second version of the Q version characters in Honkai Academy 2, it will be fine. The main requirement is that it should not be Q version. There are no other requirements after that. Susienner looked at it again with disdain. It seems that MiHoYo should want the style of painting in the previous life, but it's a pity that no one in this world can draw it. If she hadn't been short of money, she probably wouldn't have gotten involved. But for some reason, Susienner hummed twice, with a cunning look in her eyes, and smiled very proudly. As for the new talent competition held by Tencent Animation and other companies, she had no interest at all. She didn't have the grand strategies of other time travelers, nor did she have any lofty ideals and ambitions. She just wanted to get up every day and sit in front of the computer, sleep when she wanted to, order takeout when she was hungry, stay at home, and have enough money to spend money if she wanted to. As a representative of the heartless, now that she has no money to spend on games, the most urgent thing is to get some money, so now she naturally starts to help MiHoYo draw character portraits. The character she draws is the character of Kiana Kislana, one of the protagonists in the Honkai Academy series, referred to as Paramecium, a two-dimensional character with a stupid attribute. Since she had also drawn on P Station when she was playing games in her previous life, she was also familiar with drawing. Of course, she still drew in black and white, and it was impossible for her to color it. She didn't even have time to play games, so how could she color it? So when the review editor asked her to color it, she directly refused. In her previous life, when she was a newbie asking for books and anime, She knelt down and called her daddy, with a respectful attitude. As long as there is something to read, there are so many requirements. People in this world are spoiled and must be beaten up. While Susiener was drawing the character portrait for MiHoYo, she didn't know that her book had passed the review, and the editor-in-chief Luoyang put Susien's series of female takeaway directly on the newcomer recommendation on the homepage of the inner area. This recommended position can be seen at a glance on the PC and Tencent Comics inner area app client as long as it enters. It can be said to be the most obvious position. And this recommended position is generally the position that the editor is very optimistic about, and some old authors with achievements are internally determined. This situation is not uncommon, but when a black and white comic, which doesn't even have a cover, is placed on it by a newcomer, it is surprising. The most important thing is that this is the first recommendation, which means the best quality. Uebei University, in the male dormitory, 7 o'clock in the evening. Yuan Dong flipped over from the bed with a carp, holding the mobile phone with a red face, looking extremely excited, and the quilt was lifted, and the sword flashed with cold light. Monkey, are you sick? I got scared by you and lost my head. You're not reading a book, are you? Yeching, who was standing next to him, looked at the sharp sword under the other party with a strange expression, then sighed and shook his head. You can't get tired of looking at those muscles, aren't you disgusted? You kid still said, didn't you bring me in? Yuan Dong looked at the other party with contempt, then excitedly shook his mobile phone. Guess what I found? Yeching didn't bother to pay attention to the other party and played on the computer by himself. However, the next moment, the phone screen appeared in front of him. Just when he was about to curse, his eyes widened and didn't blink. He seemed to be in a daze. 3 seconds later, the phone disappeared. Yeching swallowed his saliva and said in a difficult tone, just now, what was that? If there was nothing wrong with his eyes just now, he seemed to see a beautiful woman wearing shameless clothes fighting with a man. It was no longer a woman with muscles like a female ape, but a woman who could be described as beautiful and pretty. Although it was a black and white comic, the style of painting conquered him instantly, making him accept the style in a blink of an eye, and instantly made him want to worship. After years of wandering around the world, Yeching brought Yuan Dong into the world of martial arts, and then retired to abstain from sex, vowing never to read books and comics again. However, he lowered his head and looked at his weapon, obviously ready to move. In just 3 seconds, his Zen heart was exposed. Ignoring Yuan Dong's smug expression, Yeching held the mouse with a trembling hand and entered the Tencent Comics area. He logged into the account he swore he would never log into in his life. He didn't even need to search, and saw the book with the first place in the newcomer's recommendation. Susien series, The Delivery Girl. Black and white, no cover, only a name on the first page. This comic seemed like a semi-finished product, so Yeching clicked in without hesitation. The dormitory suddenly fell into a strange silence, which made Li Xiangdong, who was playing games, suddenly feel uncomfortable. He looked back and found that Yeching and Yuan Dong were looking at the computer and didn't know what they were doing. Looking at the ranking that had already been lost, Li Xiangdong walked over with curiosity. The dormitory fell into silence again. A few minutes later, when Yeching turned to the last page of the book. Keep turning. After a few seconds, seeing that Yeching had stopped moving, Li Xiangdong shouted anxiously. That's all, just one word. Yeching finished speaking, picked up the phone on the table, and said expressionlessly, I'm going to the bathroom. My stomach hurts a little, I'm going to the bathroom next door. Yuan Dong coughed lightly, bent over slightly, took the phone, and went out. Li Xiangdong looked at the dormitory that was suddenly empty, and murmured in a low voice, then I don't have to go to the bathroom. Transformed into a comic book artist. Author, Miao by Shen Wu. Chapter 12. It's not good to be safe. In the evening, When Luoan finished taking a shower at his home and then sat in front of the computer to browse the website, he found that almost everyone in the Salted Fish concentration camp was following him. Salted Fish concentration camp is an exchange group for cartoonists. It is a small group and does not welcome familiarity, so the people in the group are basically very familiar with each other. Out of curiosity, Luoan browsed the chat history, and then learned that his notebook was not on the homepage, but was pushed down by a newcomer. Luoan is quite famous in the comic book world, and he is one of the cartoonists in Tencent Animation. He is never arrogant, but he also never belittles himself. As a well-known cartoonist in Tencent Animation, although he is not as famous as Master Yi, his reputation is gradually increasing. It can be said that as long as he publishes one or two more well-received works, he may be able to catch up. But now, thinking of this, anger flashed in Luoan's eyes, but when he continued to read through the records, he found that the people in the group were originally angry for him, but gradually turned into discouragement and advised him to endure it. Or ask the editor to arrange recommendations for the next week. Seeing this, Luoan became confused. And since he appeared, everyone gave him a link and asked him to take a good look before making a decision. I clicked the link with doubt. After reading it, Luoan lay back on the chair, feeling deeply weak, or he was trembling a little. At first glance, the style of painting completely conquered him. The most important thing is that he has been a cartoonist for a long time, and has nothing to do with it. He immediately drew his sword. After the ceremony, Luoan entered the sage mode, calmed down, and thought about the notebook he had drawn before. Those notebooks? Can it be called a book? When he looked at it in the group and asked him what he planned to do, Luoan wrote a long paragraph, then thought about it, silently deleted it, typed a few words and sent it out. The book world is going to change. Obviously, Luoan may find an editor, but he has no intention of competing with Miao Bai, the author of the book. Once this style of painting appears, Luoan can even imagine that the style of painting in the book world will completely change in the future, not just the muscle style, but this kind of style. As a book cartoonist, Luoan stood out from the bottom and knew cartoonists better than some editors, so he was sure that this wonderful pen created a style of painting that would soon be imitated. Comics are not novels, and even novels are plagiarized and imitated, not to mention the style of painting. And although it is not appropriate to imitate the painting style, as long as you get used to it, you can forcefully change the style in half a month. No. The comics world is going to change. At this time, seeing Luoan's message in the group, Master Yi, who had been silent until now, suddenly sent a message. I just asked the editor and learned that although the book was published yesterday, it was approved at 5 o'clock this afternoon, and it was recommended at 6 o'clock in the evening. Master Yi said with shock. He Yangzi said, it's 7 o'clock in the evening, and you look at his data. Seeing this, everyone turned to the link, and when they saw it, their hearts were shocked. Clicks, 163,457, recommendation votes, 203,492. If you don't look at it or pay attention, you will be stunned when you look at it. This data, can't believe it. Oh my god, explosion. Are you sure you didn't brush it? Everyone in the Salted Fish concentration camp was shocked. You must know that Tencent Animation's click calculation method is that after one account counts one click, the next click must take 6 hours to take effect. In other words, it takes 6 hours for an account to generate one click on the same comic. The result, 160,000 clicks per hour? This means that in these 2 hours, 160,000 people read this book. The recommendation vote is even more terrifying, 200,000, which means the level of satisfaction is max. Looking at the comments, there were already more than 40,000. Luoan's hands were shaking a little. After clicking on the comments, all the comments from readers were positive. I'm actually able to see such a masterpiece in my lifetime. I won't mention it anymore. I'll give you recommendation votes, subscriptions, and rewards. I just hope that teacher Miyobi can color it. Dad Miyobi, please give me a color and a second chapter. I'm not used to seeing it in black and white. What should I do? I can't read other books anymore. Thinking about muscles suddenly makes me feel sick. Thank you, teacher Miyobi, for saving my aesthetic sense, otherwise I don't know how long I would have gone astray. Tissue -10, by the way, please give me some color and the next chapter. One box of tissues, a story about a girl next door with a pale face begging for sex. Lying in the coffin, begging for sex and renewal, I can masturbate to death. Everyone should have seen it, Master Yi said with a hint of jealousy. 1 hour, 160,000 clicks, more than 200,000 recommended votes, and more than 40,000 comments. I don't think there is any need to say more about what this means. But, I read this book. The plot is terrible, and the logic is very confusing. The characters don't even have clear personalities. Why is it so popular just because of its style of painting? We have all entered a misunderstanding, Master Yi said with a complicated mood. The story of Miyobi is indeed like this, but the other party faces the theme directly, without any unnecessary plot burden, and this is the real essence of the book. Because the reader actually does not understand the book. They don't want to watch the plot, they just watch it for food. I didn't know it before, but until this book came out, I thought about it. Of course, with such achievements, this painting style accounts for 95% of the credit, so everyone may have to give up the muscular style in the future. Everyone was silent after seeing this, but the facts were in front of them, and they had to admit that Master Yi's words made sense. Even they were attracted by the style of painting, not to mention the readers. In the following period, almost all the cartoonists in the inner area of Tencent Animation were paying attention to this book, wanting to see how far the other party could go. At 8 o'clock in the evening, the number of clicks exceeded 1 million, and the number of recommended votes exceeded 1,200,000. At 10 o'clock in the evening, the number of clicks exceeded 5 million, the number of recommended votes exceeded 6 million, and the number of rewards was countless. At midnight, everyone was numb and speechless. The reason for such a loss of composure was that on the Tencent Animation and Comics total sales list, Suxian series of Female Delivery Man directly killed the first place, squeezing out the orthodox comic saint that had been ranked first for several months. This list is updated every 24 hours and refreshed at midnight. At this moment, everyone was stunned. But the orthodox cartoonists were confused, because they didn't know what was going on in the Tencent comics area, so they were very confused about the sudden rise of the comic Suxian series, The Delivery Girl to the top. Some cartoonists had not even read it yet, but they asked the editor to report the bug. After this search, they understood the situation. When countless orthodox cartoonists of Tencent Comics learned the truth, the entire orthodox comics industry was shocked. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Transformed into a comic book artist. Author, Miao by Sheng Wu. Chapter 13. Master Yi predicted that the comics industry would change, but he did not expect it to happen so soon. In the past few hours, he had even put aside ordinary things and been paying attention to Miyobi's notebook. The increase in the data frightened him. If there was any doubt that the other party was swiping data before, then when this situation was presented to him now, he no longer had any doubts. No newcomer can brush up the data like this, and no newcomer can push the sales volume of a book to the homepage of Tencent Animation's main website, and it is still the first. What kind of comic is The Saint? This is a big IP. The comic Saint is adapted from the novel Saint by Yu Xia, a Platinum Master author of Chidion.com, a subsidiary of China Literature Group. The First Order of the Saint exceeded 200,000 as soon as it was launched on Chidion.com. Not only this year, 6 months later, the high-end order has exceeded 1 million, and the average order has reached 600,000, and it is still rising. This data shocked the entire internet. In the literary world, this book directly made you exia the existence of the Supreme God, and various adaptations followed. The comic adaptation is particularly successful because Lu Qingyun, known as the national master in the comics industry, took over it personally. Before the novel The Saint appeared, Lu Qingyun had already retired from the comics industry and had been writing for 3 years. As one of the early evangelists in the comics industry in Xiangjiang, Lu Qingyun's fame has transcended the existence of a pen name and has reached the point where his real name is a manifestation of his sainthood. The major plot of The Saint taken over by Lu Qingyun completely conforms to the content of the novel. As an experienced cartoonist, he also personally filled in some minor loopholes in the novel, which won praises from fans and readers of the Saint novel. He even said that comics are better than novels. Since the appearance of the Saint, Tencent's animation and comic sales have been ranked first. However, everyone is only envious but has no idea of competing. However, the comic adaptation of The Saint by this national cartoonist was attacked by a comic today. Female delivery assistant from Susian series. When orthodox cartoonists clicked on it to watch it, they were shocked. Is this a black and white comic, or is it a dirty book? The orthodox cartoonists who later learned about the situation felt suddenly angry for some reason. As early as the 1950s and 1960s, the emergence of comics as a genre gave people new spiritual entertainment. However, when the comics appeared, the royalties were even higher than them, which made cartoonists especially angry, feeling insulted. At that time, the yet-to-be-grown Benza world was suppressed by the orthodox comics industry. It was not until modern society that the Benza world was gradually accepted by everyone, but orthodox cartoonists naturally still looked down on Benza cartoonists. However, due to the muscular style of painting in the book world, although the sales volume was very good in the early days, it has gradually deteriorated year by year. In the past 7 or 8 years, there has been no trace of book comics on the sales list. Therefore, orthodox cartoonists are very looked down upon by book cartoonists. And the existence that they looked down upon gave them a slap in the face today. The number 1 in total sales made their jaws drop. And according to their understanding, this book passed the review at 5 p.m. in just 7 hours, its sales volume was even higher than that of The Saint. The glass heart of a group of orthodox cartoonists was severely affected, and they directly started to complain on Weibo. The first person to provoke the fight was the well-known orthodox cartoonist Chunni Huihua. As a fan of Lu Qingyun, he was the opponent's comic assistant in the early days. Chunni Huihua has always been Lu Qingyun's supporter. So naturally he couldn't stand a comic book and even pushed his teacher Lu Qingyun to second place. There are many wonders in the world, and today's comics industry is unique. Just after midnight, the comic Saint was actually suppressed by a comic by an unknown cartoonist. It is really worthwhile for this cartoonist to find a different style of painting. Praise, but the plot is lacking, the content is illogical, the characters have no personality, and the comics are still in black and white, and they don't even have a cover. Such irresponsible comics actually surpass the sales volume of The Saint in one night, which makes people can't help but worry about the future of the comics industry. Chunni Huihua speaks at a very high level, and he also knows that since Susian series sells the best, then as long as Tencent Animation does not make mistakes, it is real. Therefore, he just came out to set the pace, and everything he said was true and there was nothing wrong with it. And he knows that the readers of the novels and comics of The Saint are very sticky. Their favorite novels and comics are pushed to the second place. As a loyal fan, they will naturally fight for the injustice of The Saint. Thinking of this, Chunni Huihua smiled coldly. As soon as Chun Ni Hua posted on Weibo, the orthodox comics world was completely in a state of excitement. Some night owls who like to read comics suddenly discovered that after midnight, the cartoonists they followed suddenly became lively on Weibo. I was sitting at home working on a manuscript today when I was informed by a friend that Tencent Animation's #1 comic Saint had been squeezed out. I was so excited that I paid attention to it for a little while. I was suddenly disappointed with the comics industry. A dirty book actually replaced the orthodox comics. The world has been suppressed, so is there a future for the orthodox comics industry? Do I still need to continue drawing? The comics industry has just begun to develop and is open to the public, but it is suddenly tainted by a book. When the media reports to the public that the #1 sales volume is a book, I am afraid the comics industry will encounter great ridicule. So in the face of such an environment, can the comic industry really develop? I am worried. Well-known cartoonists jumped out to set the pace on Weibo. None of them revealed the name of the Susian series. Instead, they expressed exclamations and concerns about the cartoon industry. This group of orthodox cartoonists are so shameless. They only have a book, and they think the cartoon industry will be destroyed. Xianya concentration camp has been paying attention to the Susian series, so when the Weibo news came out, they knew the situation immediately and couldn't help but feel anxious. Because it is related to their interests, Master Yi said quietly, Susian series as a book, just changed the style of painting, but it has such a miraculous effect, reaching the first place in total sales. Then when we, a group of book cartoonists, start when imitating the painting style, can they be crushed? This is what they worry about. But I think what these orthodox cartoonists say makes sense. If the book cartoonists start to imitate Miobi's style of painting, then how many people will draw orthodox comics when they all occupy the sales list? Everyone will come to draw books, right? The comics industry may really be over by then. Should we get involved? As soon as he finished speaking, the person was removed from the group. It's really stupid. I've been upset with this guy for a long time. He spreads negative thoughts every day, and a few words from others can lead his thinking astray. This group of shit orthodox cartoonists can also raise the banner of righteousness, and the wonderful pen appears exactly at this time. It is best to kill their spirit and occupy the first place all year round, so that they can take a good look at the gods in our book world. Seeing this, everyone in the group smiled bitterly and shook their heads. I had a hot temper, but the person who was kicked was also like this. Many people in the group didn't like him, and no one stood up for him. By the way, do you know Miobi? If so, bring him in and let's discuss a solution. It's not easy for a great master to appear in the book world and create a style of painting. I'd like to ask for advice. I don't know. The other party should be a newcomer, right? I think it's an old man's new vest. After all, this Susian series puts aside the issue of painting style. It is only 23 pages long, but it is extremely essential. It is short and exquisite. It is obvious that the book has been studied deeply. I'll ask the editor tomorrow to see if I can get the other party's contact information. While the Xianya concentration camp was being discussed, the rhythm of Weibo became increasingly chaotic, and it looked like a storm was about to come. Transformed into a comic book artist. Author, Miao by Shen Wu. Chapter 14. At 8 o'clock in the morning, Zhao Jing came to work at Tencent Animation as usual. When he arrived at the editor-in-chief's office, Luoyang hurriedly opened the door without even knocking on the door before his butt was still hot. Seeing this, Zhao Jing raised his eyebrows but said nothing. The two of them can be regarded as old classmates. When Luoyang was working as an editor in Yu Yaokai, he was very capable but could not be promoted, and then he was poached by him. Of course, Luoyang has strict rules in the company. Every time he comes in, he will knock on the door. When facing him, he will act as a subordinate. However, Luoyang was very impatient today. which made him very curious. Two news, one good news, one bad news, which one should you listen to? Good news. Last night, Susian series was recommended. In just 7 hours, it directly ranked first on Tencent's animation and comic sales list. After saying this, Luoyang's face was extremely moved. If he hadn't repeatedly confirmed that there was no error in the internal data, he would not have believed it at all. Call. Zhao Jing, who was lying relaxedly on the office chair, sat up straight, with shock in his eyes. Number 1 on the overall list? Where is the saint? Zhao Jing is used to going to bed early and went to bed after 10 o'clock last night, so naturally he didn't know the news. When he heard it today, he was shocked. A book ranks first on the sales list? A fantasy. Of course he was pushed to second place. Luoyang frowned and said without waiting for Zhao Jing to ask, the bad news is that many people reported Susian series. Report. Zhao Jing's expression condensed and he said coldly, what's the reason? If Susian series is published in the Tencent Animation Watch area, it will not pass the review without reporting. But the wonderful pen was posted in the inner area, which is legal, and Susian series has no violations. What should I report? What is the reason to report? Promote Cyan without waiting for Zhao Jing to ask, Luoyang continued, the reason is that Susian series ranks first in the sales list on Tencent Animation's homepage, and those who are underage can also see this book. But I remember that even if I clicked on it if I was underage, I wouldn't be able to see the content. That's true, but there are still many reports, and they are basically all orthodox cartoonists. Have any readers reported it? No, on the contrary, it has been well received. When the customer service came online today, a bunch of fans asked the customer service to give us feedback, asking Miyobi to color the Susian series. Zhao Jing nodded, calmed down, and wrote lightly, let the editors give a warning to the cartoonists to draw cartoons properly when they have time, and don't make messy things all day long. Also, contact the clever pen to draw the reader's attention. We gave him strong feedback and finally asked him to publish the second chapter as soon as possible. While other comic websites were adapting to the Miyobi style, we directly won over each other and became invincible. We have been contacting Miyobi. Luoyang smiled bitterly, but the guy just didn't reply to the message. Plus, the phone is in do not disturb mode, so we can only wait. Moreover, we really need to take this report seriously. Then Luoyang talked about the Weibo incident last night, which made Zhao Jing completely stunned. Anger flashed in his eyes, he narrowed his eyes and said coldly, in this case, we must find a few thorns to give a good warning. After saying that, Zhao Jing stood up and said softly, I'm going to visit Mr. Lu to see what he thinks. Remember to contact Miyobi. No problem. Luoyang knew that the cause of this matter was actually very simple. It was just a jealousy incident caused by orthodox cartoonists looking down on the book world. However, since the Saint comic was adapted by Yuexia and Lu Qingyun under the authorization of Yuexia, then Zhao Jing we must visit the other party and listen to their opinions. As for contacting Miyobi, Luoyang sighed. He had never seen a cartoonist who was so difficult to contact. Tencent Animation Company is located in Magic City, while national player Lu Qingyun lives on the outskirts of Magic City. When Zhao Jing drove to the suburbs and got out of the car, what came into view was a garden of fruit trees. In the suburbs full of trees, there was a Chinese-style garden manor. When he came to the door, the security guard nodded kindly when he saw Zhao Jing. He was released directly. Lu Qingyun is the cartoonist of Tencent Animation. Zhao Jing often comes to establish a good relationship with him, and the security guard naturally recognizes Zhao Jing. After giving a cigarette to the security guard, Zhao Jing smiled and walked straight in. There are rock eyries, surrounded by water, the air is fresh, and there is a crystal clear stream not far away with gurgling water. Living there all year round has a recuperating effect on the body. Lu Qingyun has entered his 60s and attaches great importance to physical health. This manor is where Lu Qingyun lives and where he works. Arriving at the place where Lu Qingyun worked all year round, Zhao Jing knocked on the door. "Please come in." After pushing the door open, there were many people in the room, but it was extremely quiet. Only the comic assistants would whisper a few words quietly from time to time. When they saw Zhao Jing coming, they all nodded respectfully. This room is Lu Qingyun's working place and his studio. As a national expert in the comics industry, Lu Qingyun has many students and comic assistants. He cannot draw the saint alone. There are many comic assistants who color, background, and draw lines, draw post effects, etc. Zhao Jing came to Lu Qingyun's side with ease and looked at the old man with some gray hair, who was wearing glasses and working on the drawing paper with concentration. Zhao Jing did not interrupt, but found a seat next to him and sat down. After a while, Lu Qingyun put down the pen in his hand, rubbed his sour eyes, put his glasses on the table, and then sighed, "I'm old, now it's the world of young people." "Mr. Lu, you are joking. I know that the last time the doctor examined you, he said that your health is better than that of some young people." Zhao Jing's heart moved slightly, and then he smiled. That's just comfort. Although Lu Qingyun has a gray head, his overall face is relatively rosy. It's just that he has been drawing cartoons all year round, which has caused his eyesight to fail. After the two chatted for a while, Lu Qingyun saw that Zhao Jing had not explained the purpose of his visit, and suddenly smiled dumbly. "We are old acquaintances. I know your purpose of coming. Someone has already told me what happened in the early morning, but I won't interfere." Another style of painting has finally appeared in the comics industry. Although it is for drawing books, this style of painting is worth promoting. I just hope that editor Zhao will be considerate of the cartoonists. Lu Qingyun nodded, and Zhao Jing nodded knowingly. "I feel relieved after Mr. Lu said this, and I came here to tell Mr. Lu that the Susian series ranked first in the total sales list. Or because of the reward, I'm still a dozen blocks away from you in terms of subscription, maybe it will be available tomorrow." "I don't care about this." Lu Qingyun smiled. The two had a lively conversation. After Zhao Jing left half an hour later, a comic assistant came up and hesitated to speak. "What's wrong?" "Teacher, Mr. Lin and the others called again. I hope you can say a few words on Weibo." Lu Qingyun shook his head. "Speak. What did you say?" "We don't need to interfere in this matter, just let it take its course." After saying that, seeing that he was hesitant to speak, Lu Qingyun said, "The reason why Xiao Lin and the others are anxious is because fantasy is the mainstream in the orthodox comics industry now. Martial arts has been relegated to the second line, and the painting style of Susian series is basically it is not suitable for martial arts and fantasy, so they are afraid that people in the book world will imitate successfully and erode their interests, so they come to me." Lu Qingyun shook his head and sighed, "You pass my words to others and let everyone calm down and work hard. There is no need to interfere in this matter. He is not afraid that the people at the studio will reveal it. These people have been following him for more than 20 years. Those who should have debuted in the past have already debuted. The ones who are still here are all people who just want to follow him. Naturally, there is nothing he cannot say. Of course, there are still some things left unsaid, that is, Zhao Jing is very ambitious and has been dealing with him for many years. Lu Qingyun naturally knows that the other party wants to expand the comic industry in one fell swoop, and now that different painting styles are presented, it is an opportunity, and the other party will definitely won't let it go." Okay, hearing this, the comic assistant suddenly understood and then agreed. After the surroundings calmed down, Lu Qingyun picked up the glasses on the table, put them on, picked up the brush, and continued to focus his eyes. And what is Susiener doing at this time? She just woke up. Transformed into a comic book artist. Author, Miao by Sheng Wu. Chapter 15. Susiener woke up at 11 o'clock in the morning. Sitting on the bed, Susiener's eyes were dull, and then she fell on the bed and fell asleep again. An hour later, Susiener woke up again. This time she didn't sleep again, and of course she didn't get up. Instead, she fell on the bed with her eyes squinted and picked up her phone to turn it on. That's right, Susiener turned off her phone before going to bed, and not only that, she also changed the password of the electronic lock outside the door, so it was impossible for Lin Jingshu to come in and wake her up in the morning. And in the middle of the night yesterday, she also sent a message to Lin Jingshu, asking her to help her take a leave today. It has to be said that in order to skip class, Susiener did everything she could, and she succeeded. In the morning, Lin Jingshu was forced to help her take a leave. Turning on the phone and looking at nearly 10 missed calls, Susiener calmly ordered takeout, turned on the computer, and then went to wash up. After drawing the character portrait of Honkai Impact 3rd last night, I sent an email to my Hoyo official. So Susiener started playing games in the middle of the night. Since she had no money to spend, she could only play League of Legends and went to bed at 5 in the morning. It was already past 1 in the afternoon. After logging into QQ, Susiener found that the review editor had sent her a bunch of messages again. After reading the messages, Susiener's eyes lit up and she suddenly became excited. Li Yuan sent her a lot of messages, nothing more than Susien series ranked first in the sales list, shocking the entire comics industry. And a lot of readers wrote to her, strongly hoping that she could color the first episode and update the content of the second episode. Of course, the other party left a message, asking her to have a good rest these 2 days and not let external factors interfere with her painting mood, and this external factor was the Weibo incident and the reporting incident. Of course, Li Yuan did not tell Susiener about the reporting, but only mentioned the Weibo incident briefly. After all, this incident was on the internet, and Susiener should know basically anything about cartoonists, so they did not hide it. And this is what Susiener is excited about. As a bored person who plays games, watches videos, and browses websites at home every day, she has a lot of time to waste. She is not afraid of problems coming to her, but she is afraid of having nothing to do. Just when she went to Weibo to check the whole story, the doorbell rang. After getting dressed and opening the door, Susiener was startled and said disdainfully, "Why is it you? I didn't order your takeaway." Chen Shui at the door had an extremely dangerous and kind smile. Without waiting for Susiener to close the door, she squeezed in directly, then hugged her delicate body, and walked towards the bedroom. Susiener was stunned and struggled hard. "Hey, what are you doing? Put me down. Why is your room so messy? Why don't you turn on the light?" Ignoring the other party, Chen Shui looked at Susiener's bedroom, frowned slightly, and said disdainfully, "Girls should love cleanliness, you know." As she said that, she threw Susiener directly on the bed, then crossed her arms around her chest, and Chen Shui snorted coldly, "Tell me, did you do the Susien series on the internet?" Speaking of this, Chen Shui gritted her teeth. In the morning, her best friend sent her a link and asked her to finish reading it. When she clicked it, it turned out to be a book, but thinking of her best friend's words, she could only be guilty and flipped through the book with a blushing face. As a result, after flipping through a few pages, she found that the woman in the book was called Chen Shui, a female takeaway, and had short hair. All these images were very consistent with her, which made her suddenly angry, and then she saw that the protagonist's name was Susien, and she thought of Susiener in an instant. After all, Meituan is a real name system. She knew Susiener's name, so she went straight to her door. "So that's it." Susiener was relieved when she heard it. It was not a burglary. Then she nodded as a matter of course I did it. I am a man of my word. If I say I will retaliate against you, I will definitely retaliate against you." She actually, shamelessly admitted it, and was so rampant. At this moment, Chen Shui didn't know how to respond. She said weakly, "Can you cancel that comic?" This morning, she was ridiculed by her bestie. Of course, she knew that the other party must have just thought it was a coincidence and would not think too much about it, but when she thought that the heroine of this book was based on her, she got goosebumps all over her body. And she heard that this book seemed to be well received, and even squeezed the saint off the sales list. This means that many people have read it, so she is even more anxious. "Why?" Susianer snorted, and then seeing Chen Shui's anger, she quickly said, "I just used your name, the rest are my original creations." "You also created the takeaway? You also created the short hair? And the male protagonist's name is Susian." Chen Shui smiled, clenched her white fist, shook it in front of Susianer, and said angrily, "If you don't take down that book today, I will beat you up." Susianer looked at Chen Shui seriously, and then compared it with her petite body, and could only give in. "It's like this, I really just used your name. Think about it, the Chen Shui I drew has bigger breasts than you, a petite figure, and not as strong as you, although it's short hair, but the hair is obviously a little longer than yours, and the most important thing is that she is much prettier than you. Don't you think I'm right? So I really just borrowed your name, don't think too much." Susianer's venom made Chen Shui angry, waving her fist. "Susianer, you're too much, quickly take down the comics. You know, although she is not a beauty, she can still be rated as a school beauty in school." However, in front of Susianer, a beautiful girl, she can't say anything tough about her appearance. Standing on the bed, looking down at Chen Shui, Susianer patted her shoulder, looked her up and down, and sighed, "Chen Shui, is your life full of anger happy?" This sentence was like a fuse in a dynamite box, igniting Chen Shui's emotions in an instant. The next moment, Susianer was thrown directly onto the bed. Looking at Chen Shui who was sitting on her and sneering, she panicked, "What are you doing? Let me go, bastard." Helplessly, even if she struggled hard, the strength of this body was too small, and the struggling movement seemed to tickle Chen Shui. Chen Shui snorted coldly, "I'm a member of the sports team. If you don't change, that's fine. In the comics, you did that to me, and in reality I'll pay you back double." You're a lesbian." "Sorry, I'm not, but you're so beautiful that I want to taint you." "Asshole, let me go, you perverted woman, monkey woman. I, Susianer, will beat you to death today." Hearing the word monkey woman, Chen Shui smiled coldly, controlled Susianer's hands, and kissed her directly. When their lips covered each other, they were both stunned. Feeling the cold and tender lips, Chen Shui calmed down instantly, looking at Susianer with tears in her eyes. The two of them stared at each other. Sorry, are you okay?" The next moment, Chen Shui wanted to slap herself. She didn't expect that she actually kissed him, but she was too angry just now, and could only say that her emotions controlled her brain. "Why don't you continue?" Susianer wiped her tears. She no longer had the tearful expression she had just now. Instead, she was extremely expectant. "Do you want to continue?" "Yes, I just cooperated with you to perform the process of a girl being violated by a pervert." "Susianer, it seems that I really have to beat you up." You, what are you two doing?" Hearing the sound at the door, Susianer and Chen Shui turned their heads and saw Lin Jingshu standing at the door, staring at them in amazement, with a look of doubt on her face. Ask for recommendation votes. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Transformed into a comic book artist. Author, Miao by Shen Wu. Chapter 16. Susianer, you eat takeout every day. When Zhou Qinzhi received the fast food from the delivery man at the door, She entered the bedroom and saw the current posture of Chen Shui and Susianer. She was as shocked as Lin Jingshu, who was standing at the door. What? As soon as she finished speaking, Zhou Qinzhi reacted instantly, with an extremely ugly expression, and said sternly, "What are you doing?" This made Susianer and Chen Shui startled. We didn't do anything." "Nothing? You slept in the same bed, and you are two women." Zhou Qinzhi was so angry that she trembled all over. In an instant, she seemed to have figured out something. "No wonder your phone is not turned on, no wonder Jingshu couldn't open the electronic lock of your door in the morning. It turns out that you have been making love." Originally, she didn't have this idea, but when she thought of these things, bad thoughts emerged, making her recognize this established fact. The most important thing is that the postures of the two people are really ambiguous now, and their faces are red, which makes it hard for people not to think crooked. "I'm here." Susianer made a buzzing sound, patted Chen Shui's hand, and then pushed her away, saying with a bitter face, "Teacher, please listen to my explanation. It's not like that." "Explain, what's there to explain?" Zhou Qinzhi looked disappointed. "Susianer, yesterday many teachers cared about you, saying that you might not be feeling well, but you insisted on coming to class, but today you disappointed me. Teacher, are you going to ignore my explanation like in a melodramatic Korean drama, and keep misunderstanding me?" Zhou Qinzhi was stunned, then calmed down a little, looked at Susianer, and nodded slowly. "Okay, I'll listen to your explanation." As she said that, she subconsciously looked around and frowned in disdain. "Why is your place so dirty? I remember you used to love cleanliness." Chen Shui, who was shivering at the head of the bed, curled her lips when she heard this. Love cleanliness? It's probably just a false impression this guy showed at school. However, thinking of Susianer's words, "I'm here," she changed her mind. Although she was a perverted girl, she was still quite reliable at critical moments. Looking at her petite back, Chen Shui felt that she shouldn't let a girl stand up for her. It's her. Just when Chen Shui had just changed her mind about Susianer, she saw her pointing at her and said angrily, "It's this guy who made me fall." Ah, Chen Shui was confused. The next moment, she reacted and a hashtag appeared on her forehead. She clenched her fists tightly and said angrily, "You stinky girl, you're asking for a beating." "Teacher, look," she threatened me. Susianer ran to Zhou Qinzhi crying, and then winked at Chen Shui. However, Chen Shui felt betrayed and didn't even notice Susianer's expression. Instead, she didn't wait for Zhou Qinzhi to speak and said bluntly, "Teacher, although Susianer is your student, you can't listen to her one-sided words. Since you can listen to her explanation, why not listen to my explanation?" "Okay, you say. It's like this. It's over." Susianer held her forehead and felt GG in her heart, lamenting that her teammates were stupid, but she quickly adjusted her mentality. After all, she was a 20-something adult in her mind, not a real girl. While Chen Shui was telling the truth, she looked at Lin Jingshu and said, "How did you get in? You didn't close the door, so the teacher and I just came in." Lin Jingshu, who was still thinking about the scene just now, stared at Susianer in a daze and whispered, Did you really kiss just now? Is it like what is said in romance novels, with an electric shock feeling? Why do you want to try? Susianer, come here. Jingshu, don't come here, this thing is too dirty." Before she finished her words, Zhou Qinzhi's angry voice came, which scared her. Looking carefully, Chen Shui was sitting at the computer desk and opened the official website of Tencent Comics, and then her Susian series was on the screen. Zhou Qinzhi stood behind her with a red face, and she didn't know whether she was angry or embarrassed by the unbearable scenes on the book. Lin Jingshu nodded obediently, while Susianer came over reluctantly, glanced at the computer screen, and suddenly covered her eyes, saying shyly, "Oh, teacher, why do you let me see such disgusting things?" Puff. Chen Shui couldn't help laughing out loud. Joe Kinja saw Susiener suddenly pretending to be pretentious, and said expressionlessly, "Okay, this account is the account you saved on the website, and your computer has a record." "Teacher, I was wrong." Seeing that she couldn't fool him, Susiener bowed her head and admitted her mistake. Joe Kinja rubbed her head, then sighed, looking at Susiener. At this moment, she didn't know what to say. After just a few days of not seeing each other, Susiener actually fell so quickly, and the most important thing was that the other party actually drew such a thing, which shocked her completely. Thinking of this, Joe Kinja thought about it and took out her mobile phone directly. "Teacher, who are you going to call?" Susiener was terrified when she saw this. "Yayuking," Joe Kinja said helplessly, "your aunt asked me to take good care of you, but I didn't do it. In this case, I think it is necessary to tell her about this and let her make the decision." "No, teacher, I was wrong. As long as you don't tell my aunt, you can ask me to do anything." The reason why Susiener was afraid of Joe Kinja was because Joe Kinja was a good friend of her aunt Yayuking. Her parents had a plane crash, and Yayuking was her only relative and her guardian. In other words, if she wanted to take a leave of absence from school, she must get Yayuking's consent. Of course, this is not the most important thing. The main reason is that I know from memory that this aunt has been extremely protective and caring for her since she was a child. To be honest, although she was heartless and careless, she really didn't want to make Yayuking sad. After all, the other party was at work and must have troubles. If her own affairs made the other party worry again, she would still feel guilty. When Joe Kinja heard this, her movements stagnated, and then she looked at Susiener. "Are you really willing to do anything? Isn't this a trap?" Thinking about it, Susiener nodded helplessly. Even if she knew it was a conspiracy, she could only admit it. "Then you must agree to a few requests from me." Without waiting for Susiener to speak, Joe Kinja pointed at the Susien series on the computer screen. "First of all, delete this. After all, you drew this girl in it. This is a very bad reputation for girls. Delete me and drink the northwest wind. This is definitely not possible." Susiener said with a sad face, "Teacher, you don't know, I have signed a contract with Tencent Animation, so this cannot be deleted, and more than that, I must continue to draw. This is a contract. If it is violated, but will be taken to court." Although Joe Kinja is a teacher, she really doesn't understand people who sign contracts online, and the same goes for Chen Shui. She generally doesn't read novels and comics, so naturally she doesn't understand these situations. The two of them looked at Susiener suspiciously. In the end, Joe Kinja could only reluctantly say, "We'll talk about this later. Let's talk about other things. Go to class on time and don't be late. I really thought you were sick before, but I didn't expect you to hide and draw this thing. If you refuse, there will be no discussion." "All right." Susiener knew that her plan to drop out of school had completely collapsed, but after thinking about it, she could also play games and sleep at school, so she didn't feel so sad. "Second, you are not allowed to eat takeout from now on. Who knows if the food outside is clean? I don't ask you to do it yourself. Jingshu will take good care of you in the future." Chen Shui next to her was very embarrassed when she heard this. After all, her family runs a restaurant. "No problem," Susiener agreed. Joe Kinja wouldn't come over to supervise her every day anyway, so he had to agree first. "Third, Jingshu will move in with you later. I have already agreed with her parents that you two will live together in the future, and Jingshu will supervise you on my behalf." "What?" Susiener was stunned. "Your aunt also felt that you would be a little lonely living alone, so she agreed. Anyway, Jingshu also lives alone, so it would be nice for you two to have company." "Fourth." "What else?" Susiener shouted before she could react to the third item. "Clean the room for me. Can you see if your bedroom is still livable? Also, I didn't expect you to be so unwilling to learn to smoke. You must stop smoking. Susiener stuck out her tongue. She took a puff of this woman's cigarette after buying it. Then she felt it was too bland and stopped smoking. Then she thought that the body of men's cigarettes couldn't bear it, so she didn't plan to smoke anymore, because it's true that smoking is bad. You couldn't quit it in the past life. Naturally, you won't intend to do any harm to your health in this life. Transformed into a comic book artist. Author, Miao by Shen Wu. Chapter 17. Just as Zhou Qinjia and others were helping Susiener tidy up her bedroom and preparing lunch, a young man from MiHoYo was jogging towards the conference room in a hurry. As a medium-sized company, MiHoYo was started by several otaku programmers as a small workshop before it developed. Now, it has reached a certain scale. After the Q-version mobile game Honkai Academy 2 made enough money, Honkai 3 was just about to be developed. However, Honkai 3 was actually launched a long time ago, but due to engine problems and the most important character problem, it has been bothering MiHoYo. However, when they solved the engine problem, the real problem facing them was the character. MiHoYo is determined to make a mobile game that is different from the current market, that is, a 3D action mobile game, and it is natural that it is mainly based on the otaku system. Honkai Academy is now a medium-sized IP, and it is well known in the national mobile game industry, with a monthly profit of up to 50 to 60 million. Now that the funds and engines are in place, the only thing missing is the most critical character illustrations. As long as this is solved, Honkai Impact 3 can be developed immediately. However, the illustrations are the most difficult problem. Now mobile games are basically all Q version, and there are no 3D mobile games or real two-dimensional games. All this makes major game companies sigh that the current comic style is too bad. The muscle style everywhere has assimilated all major painters. Beginners can only learn muscle style, and other styles cannot be learned at all. Companies that make games with this style are already losing money. Unless there is a market for those martial arts style 3D games, there is no hope for the two-dimensional ones. So MiHoYo will select character illustrations nationwide, with the Q version characters of Honkai Impact 2 as the benchmark. As long as it is not a Q version character, there is no other requirement. This is to let everyone use their thinking, hoping that major painters can draw character illustrations that satisfy them. But from August 25 to today, the staff has browsed many portraits sent by painters, but none of them can completely satisfy them. Because the characters drawn by the painters have some muscles, which makes MiHoYo's people curse. If the artists in their own company are like this, other painters can't get away from this style. At this time, Chairman Lu Wei convened everyone in the meeting to discuss what to do if they can't gather a satisfactory style of painting. He hopes that everyone can give their own opinions. Chairman, today is the last day to collect character illustrations. I have to admit that although Honkai Impact 3 has been approved, it is no longer possible to make it into a 3D game. So I second Ning's suggestion to continue to focus on the Q version and make Honkai Impact 3 into a Q version game. I disagree. Honkai Impact 3 was approved long before the company was established. It has only been 4 years now. Since we can wait for a few years, why can't we wait a few more years? There are no characters in our game with the style we want now, but maybe there will be in a few years. A few years? Honkai Impact 2 is going downhill now. Don't you know how much the mobile game industry has changed? It's changed every month. To be honest, it's incredible that Honkai Impact 2 can survive for 3 years. If we don't develop new games, our finances can't hold on. Chairman Lu Wei sat at the head of the conference room and had a headache. To be honest, he didn't expect that after half a month of national recruitment activities, he couldn't recruit a painter that satisfied him. Is there no one in China? Is there no painter who can bring forth new ideas? Dong dong dong. While everyone was discussing, the door of the conference room rang. "Please come in." "Chairman, check our official email." The assistant couldn't wait to say it as soon as he came in. His excited and anxious expression seemed to be explaining something. Seeing this, Lu Wei was shocked and took a deep breath. "Are there satisfactory illustrations?" "More than satisfied." "Really satisfied," the assistant said excitedly. "The artists who reviewed it said that if you are not satisfied, they will resign immediately and hand over all the previous salaries. The artists in charge of reviewing the illustrations are the company's artists." Lu Wei suddenly became excited for some reason when he heard everyone say that. The other people in the conference room also looked nervous. From expectation to despair in the past half-month, this emotional change was really uncomfortable. Lu Wei opened the official email and then waved for the assistant to come over. The assistant understood and came to the computer to open an email. In an instant, when a long-haired, innocent, and cute girl appeared on the screen at the meeting, everyone couldn't help but exclaimed. "This style is so fresh. This is a girl from the second dimension. Why is it black and white?" If Susiener were here, she would be surprised, because the girl on the screen turned out to be the girl next door who she left a suspense at the end of the Susien series. Lu Wei stared at the computer intently, but suddenly frowned. Looking at this black and white girl picture, he always felt that something was missing. However, the appearance of this style of painting made him very satisfied, and he did not dare to ask for too much. "More than one, there is more." The assistant's expression was extremely excited, and then without waiting for everyone to speak, he clicked the mouse into another email portrait. When the loaded girl was presented in front of everyone was shocked. "This, God! Kiana, this is Kiana." If the first picture of the girl surprised everyone, then they were shocked after the second one was shown. At just one glance, they shouted out, and at one glance, they knew who the girl on the screen was. Double curly long hair, with ribbons tied at the ends of her hair, a headband on her head, a hairpin above her bangs, wearing a sailor suit, slender figure, short skirt, and stockings on her lower body. The short skirt fluttered, as if the wind blew, forming an absolute domain in the painting, and a string of bullets was wrapped around her belt. Delicate and beautiful face, with a smile, watery eyes. Due to the perspective problem, let everyone in the conference room think that the girl in the painting was smiling at them. This is one of the protagonists of their Honkai Academy, Kiana Kislana. This is a secondary creation by the artist based on the Q version of Kiana in Honkai Impact 3. Everyone present is a company veteran. They have been accompanying the characters of Honkai Academy almost day and night. They can recognize who the girl in the painting is without being reminded. Lu Wei looked at the computer screen, his hands trembling slightly, and then he stood up and looked at the screen because he felt that the computer screen was too small. After a long time, Lu Wei realized why he felt that something was missing from the first painting. The girl in the first painting was cute and innocent, but not delicate. Yes, delicate. This is the difference in style, the delicate style. The girl in the style of Ryu Kunzen gives people a feeling of innocence. This innocence plus the battle in the book will give people a sense of contrast. This illustration is mainly based on the delicate style, which attracts people at first sight, immerses them in it, and sighs at the beauty of the girl. Now the conference room is immersed in the girl's peerless beauty, and it can't speak for a long time. "Chairman, I think our Honkai Impact 3 can be put on the agenda." See Gabriel forgot to update, Orts. Transformed into a comic book artist. Author, Miao Bai Shen Wu. Chapter 18. Chairman, I think our Honkai Impact 3 can be put on the agenda. After a long time, when everyone came to their senses, everyone started talking after hearing this. "Chairman, you must contact this painter. This vertical painting is so perfect and fits so well." Searched Can on Google. "Yes, now I really want to see how beautiful Kiana will be when she is colored. With this vertical painting, When the game is based on this model, it will be difficult for the game to become popular. Listening to the flurry of comments, there are no longer different opinions. Now everyone has the same idea, which is to find this artist and let him design character paintings and models for Bang 3. Modern Q-version mobile games have reached their peak, and the mobile game industry must change. Otherwise, when players get tired of playing, there will be no change, and the mobile game industry will die sooner or later. Therefore, it is possible to make different types of mobile games. Who is willing to make Q-version games? The reason why Planning Ning suggested it before is because there is no vertical painting to attract them. Now, Lu Wei took a deep breath, suppressed the excitement in his heart, signaled everyone to be quiet, and then looked at the assistant. Teacher, have you been contacted now? Not yet. We sent an email to reply, but the other party hasn't responded yet. The assistant was also excited. After all, he had watched everyone turn from expectation to despair in the past half-month, and today he can finally feel at ease. Of course, although he didn't get in touch, he believed that since the other party had submitted the article, he naturally hoped to be selected. Is there a phone? No, the other party just submitted a vertical painting and left a pen name. We only know the other party's email address, the assistant answered honestly. Hearing this, Lu Wei was slightly disappointed, but he and his assistant had the same idea. Since the other party submitted the article, he would naturally hope to be selected. Right. The assistant suddenly thought of something, clicked the mouse, and returned to the previous vertical painting. This made everyone who was still admiring the painting immediately show dissatisfaction, but he just pretended not to see it. That's it, this painting is according to the email message said that this girl was drawn by a person named Miobi on the internet. As for the person who submitted the article, he is a fan of our mobile game. Seeing that we are soliciting vertical paintings, we submitted the characters written by Miobi, hoping to help get us. Of course, the assistant now knows that with the extremely exquisite vertical painting just now, I am afraid that no one is interested in this one anymore. Sure enough, after hearing this, Lu Wei just nodded without saying anything, and the same was true for others. Tell the staff that as long as that person. As he said this, Lu Wei still didn't know the name of the contributor to Kiana's portrait. Ball pen, this is the pen name of the contributor. You ask the staff to always pay attention to teacher Ball Pen's emails. If the other party replies, notify me as soon as possible. No problem. Today the collection of standing paintings is over. Let the reviewers invite the 50 painters who think they have the best paintings to come to our company for a second review. Lu Wei continued, this is the second time of their previous collection activities. I took several steps, but there was no satisfactory manuscript. I thought it would be aborted, but unexpectedly, it took a turn. Remember, we must invite the ball pen teacher. We can also try to invite that wonderful pen teacher. Of course, if we can't invite it, forget it. Okay, the assistant knew that the others were just foils, and only the ball pen teacher was the real protagonist. Then the meeting was disbanded. After all, they were meeting to collect suggestions. Now that everyone had the same purpose, there was no need to continue. Susienner was sitting in front of the computer, looking at MiHoYo's reply, with a playful smile on her lips. Although she sent MiHoYo an email with a portrait, she only planned to disappear after receiving the 3,000 yuan bonus, which meant that even if MiHoYo invited her later, she would not go. As for whether MiHoYo will create other characters based on her painting of Kiana, Susienner is not worried at all. With the emergence of a new painting style, it will take at least a month of copying to become familiar with this style, but if you want to creating other characters in this style requires the ability to imagine. Susienner expressed despair about the imagination of painters in this world, so if MiHoYo really wants to use the Kiana she drew to create portraits of other characters, it may take a long time. It can be as short as half a year, or as long as 1 year. This is the reason why Susienner smiles slyly. She was cheated in her previous life, and she has to take revenge in this life. Smelly girl, what bad things are you planning to do again? Chen Shui, who was lying on the bed at this time, caught a glimpse of the scene and couldn't help but make a malicious guess. Why are you still here? Susianer looked at Chen Shui with disgust. Also, don't stay on my bed, get down quickly. Not only am I going to lie on your bed, I'm going to roll around. Are you a child? Childish. Seeing Chen Shui rolling on the bed, Susianer shook her head speechlessly, then ignored the other person, turned on the computer and logged into Weibo, and was shocked when she saw it. After she registered on Weibo an hour ago, she sent a message to Tencent Animation's Miyobi account, telling fans that she had opened Weibo and asking for attention. As for why she opened Weibo, it was naturally because the cartoonists on Weibo have been leading her pace. She opened Weibo to fight back. Of course, before fighting back, she would not let herself be alone. She first asked for some attention from fans. When the time comes, the fight won't be too weak. As a professional rhythm master, Susianer is well aware of this. Fans are extremely powerful in fighting. If she is alone, even if she has the magic keyboard, she can't spray the fans of these cartoonists. At that time, the other party doesn't need to make a move, and the fans can spray her without resistance. But what's going on now? Looking at her 100,000 followers, Susianer stared blankly, then turned to look at Chen Shui. Hey, if you open a Weibo account, will the official give you 100,000 zombie fans? How is that possible? Chen Shui looked at Susianer with an expression of looking at a mentally retarded person. Are you daydreaming? Not zombie fans? Susianer was shocked. Then she had 100,000 followers in just 1 hour. What the hell? Obviously Susianer didn't know that the Susien series she drew was already very popular in the comics industry. The sales volume in 7 hours directly beat the Saint. This amazing feat shocked the entire comics industry and even became a hot topic. However, because the Susien series is a book, the media dare not report it. Although the book has been legalized, it is indeed not suitable to appear in front of the public. If the media dares to report it, it may be reported by other media and be accused of promoting the blue hat. So now the Susien series is very popular on the internet, but there is no news in reality. As loyal fans of teacher Miyobi, they have been hoping in the comment area that Miyobi can color the comics. It is easy to go from frugality to luxury, but it is difficult to go from luxury to frugality. When the comics industry is full of color comics, Susiener's black and white comics are very uncomfortable, but his style is really amazing. It is completely different from the previous muscle-related books. Even if it is not colored, it is far better than other books. Of course, in addition to asking for coloring, there are also requests for follow-up. However, when countless fans left messages in the comment area but found that Miyobi had no response, they went to Tencent Comics customer service to give feedback, and then some people came to take a look at it in the middle of the day and found that teacher Miyobi had sent a message and opened a Weibo account. Naturally, almost all of them went to Weibo, intending to continue to urge for more updates and beg for more. So when Susiener opened the tens of thousands of Weibo comments, all she saw were requests for more updates and the second episode. I think I'm famous. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Transformed into a comic book artist. Author, Miao by Shen Wu. Chapter 19. You two come out to eat? Just when Susiener was secretly surprised, Zhou Qinji's voice came from the living room. The takeout Susiener ordered had been thrown away by her a long time ago, and she had no classes in the afternoon. Lin Jingshu also asked for half a day off, so Zhou Qinji stayed and bought some vegetables to make lunch for Susiener, while Lin Jingshu was together kitchen help. Now that she heard the sound, Chen Shui rolled up from the bed and ran out. Seeing this, Susianer was speechless. She had seen shameless people, but never such shameless ones. After looking at Weibo, Susianer hesitated for a while and didn't say anything. We'll talk about the rhythm later in the evening. It's more important to eat first. When she came to the living room and looked at the food on the dining table, Susianer's eyes lit up. She didn't hate takeaways, but she didn't hate home-cooked dishes either. Of course, it would be nice if someone cooked them for her more often. After dinner, let's help Jingshu move. When Jo Kinja saw Susianer coming out, she immediately sealed the deal without giving Susianer time to refuse. All right. Regarding this, Susianer had no choice but to agree. It wasn't that she hated Lin Jingshu, on the contrary, she liked her very much. However, she had always been used to living alone, and suddenly living together alone made her a little uncomfortable even for a beautiful girl. But Lin Jingshu is very happy. After all, she has been used to being alone since she was a child and has always wanted to make friends. Now she can live together with the girl she likes. She is very happy. Teacher, why is she here? Susianer had no objection to Lin Jingshu, but she had a strong objection to Chen Shui. This guy just agreed to act according to the situation, but he sold her in the blink of an eye. He can be called a pig teammate. You painted other girls like that, and you didn't allow others to have a meal at your house. Jo Kinja glared at Susianer. In just half an hour, she understood another side of her that made people afraid believe. Drawing books, smoking, slovenly, lazy, idle, this perfect image of a bad girl turned out to be the well-behaved Susianer she knew. Sure enough, people should not be judged by their appearance, and their normal external image is most likely just a cover-up. Susianer is an example. By the way, later you change the female image in your book to have long hair. Jo Kinja thought of something, and then said, if you draw her like this, it will be difficult for people who know Chen Sui to think wrongly. This what if it causes a bad influence on the other party in college? Sui Chen. Chen Shui is my junior classmate 3 years ago, and she is from the same department. Jo Kinja smiled, it is fate that we meet today. Well, no wonder he is so rampant, it turns out he has a backer. Staring at Chen Shui fiercely, Susianer could only give in when she saw the other party's proud look. Now that her leverage was on Jo Kinja, she could only obey him. After eating, the three of them helped Lin Jingshu move together. Since they were across the street and Lin Jingshu had relatively few things, they finished moving quickly. This busy work was already around 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and then Jo Kinja took everyone out to have a meal for Lin Jingshu's housewarming. Of course, Susianer originally planned to refuse, but was forced to go out. She was exposed to the summer sun along the way and kept complaining. Before parting ways with Jo Kinja and Chen Shui, Susianer was warned that she must revise the characters in the book. After Susianer reluctantly agreed, she went home with Lin Jingshu. Air conditioner, air conditioner. As soon as she got home, Susianer went straight to the bedroom. Seeing this, Lin Jingshu, who still wanted Susianer to take a bath first, could only be speechless. At 8 o'clock in the evening, Susianer was forced by Lin Jingshu to take a bath in the bathroom. Back in the bedroom, Susianer put on her pajamas and went directly to the computer, then opened Weibo. Then her eyes widened and her little cherry mouth opened slightly. 1 million. Has the attention reached 1 million? It has only been 7 or 8 hours since she sent the message at noon. In just 7 or 8 hours, it has reached 1 million followers, which I have to say is really shocking. Although China in this world expanded its territory during World War II due to its strong national power, resulting in China's total population reaching 2.3 billion in 2016, it is still shocking to have 1 million Weibo followers in one afternoon. Humph, what about Chunny Huhua, Yevyang, let me punish you tonight. As if she thought of something, Susianer laughed twice. Susianer did not post on Weibo in a hurry, but first went to Chunny Huhua's Weibo and took a look. Sure enough, after she opened Weibo, the other party sent another Weibo. A good cartoonist should have good professional accomplishment and extremely upright views. However, some people have gone astray and developed in extremely dirty directions. The country is vigorously developing the ACK industry, and comics are naturally included in it. But when the people discover that there are many inappropriate things in the industry developed by the country, will parents still let their children read comics? The reason why the comics industry is so sluggish is because there are too many evil cartoonists. Now there is an evil comic that has even squeezed out the orthodox comic saint. Please think about it, if all the sales lists are filled with saint in the future. If there are evil comics, then the entire comic industry will completely collapse, and it will never be possible to appear in front of the public. Comics are a kind of spiritual entertainment. The long and eloquent words made Susiener feel extremely contemptuous. This kind of guy who appeared to be just and awe-inspiring in front of justice, but in fact was doing it for his own interests, was not a good person. Then I looked at other cartoonists' Weibo and found that they were all in the same vein. They seemed to be criticizing the comic book industry, but in fact, they were aiming at her. In the past, there were no decent comic books in the comic book industry. Now there are comic books with different styles, which have greatly increased people's appetite and are naturally very popular. This can be seen from the number of followers on Weibo. Chani Huhua has more than 1.2 million followers, which is almost surpassed by her, while other well-known orthodox cartoonists are hovering around 500,000 or 600,000. Obviously, comics are not very popular in this world, and the style of painting is the main issue. After all, some top-notch stars have more than 100 million followers, and the comic book industry still has a long way to go. Of course, this has nothing to do with Susiener. After learning that her opponents are all weaklings, she lost a lot of enthusiasm, but she still wants to retaliate. So, she posted 2 Weibo posts. In the first Weibo post, he put himself in the position of a weak person, and then said in a slightly aggrieved tone that many orthodox cartoonists were jealous of his popularity and united to bully him. Then he changed the subject and said that although he was a newcomer, he did not want to surrender and be bullied. The second Weibo post was a direct start of the war. Tonight at 9 o'clock, I will take the lead in attacking the cartoonists Weibo who bullied me. Unless the other party apologizes, I will never give up. As long as everyone helps me and wins this battle, the color comic version of Susien series will be launched in Tencent Comics within a week, and those who have subscribed before do not need to subscribe again. As soon as the 2 Weibo posts were posted, Susiener knew that tonight would not be boring. Please recommend. Transformed into a comic book artist. Author, Miao by Shen Wu. Chapter 20. At 8:30 in the evening, Lin Suekin finished his dinner and logged into QQ as usual. That wonderful post has over 1 million followers on Weibo. No way, he is the new guy. It must be a zombie fan. Even the national player Lu Lao only has more than 10 million followers. That wonderful pen broke 1 million in just a few hours. Does he think everyone is an idiot? If it wasn't a zombie fan, then Miobi would definitely fight back. It's been 7 or 8 hours, and the other party just posted a Weibo post asking for attention and then disappeared. In this case, he must have a guilty conscience. Clicking on the top of Mount Tai group, Lin Suekin saw everyone discussing, suddenly sneered, and typed, Miobi must have bought zombie fans. The book world has gradually declined since 2000, while orthodox comics are it's been on an upward trajectory, and coupled with the country's policies, it's simply impossible for a comic book artist to reach 1 million followers on Weibo in 7 or 8 hours. As soon as Lin Suekin bubbled up, some divers emerged. Teacher Chunny is right. I admit that Miobi's painting style created a school, but it should be impossible to amass countless fans based on his painting style alone. By the way, Teacher Chunny, didn't you say you should contact Mr. Liu? What did you say? The Saint adapted by Mr. Lu was squeezed out by the other party. I'm afraid Mr. Lu will be angry at this situation. The orthodox comics are suppressed by the book. This is the first time in the history of the comics industry. No, Mr. Lu rejected my request. Lin Swecken sighed. Although we are angry, Mr. Lu obviously does not want to participate in this matter, and you also know that Mr. Lu has always been very generous and will not care about such trivial matters. But our group is more or less his students, and we also imitated Lu Lao's painting style in the early days, so Lu Lao doesn't care, but we have to care. This wonderful pen wants to surpass the others with one episode. Apparently he's overthinking it. Yes, and as orthodox cartoonists, we must also consider the comics industry. If a book sells best, how can the comics industry develop? Stop discussing it now, look at Weibo, that wonderful pen has spoken. Lin Swecken was startled when he saw this sentence. How dare his wonderful pen appear? Now basically all the orthodox cartoonists of Tencent Animation are leading the opponent's pace, and even the orthodox cartoonists of other comics websites have come over to join in the fun. In this situation, the opponent does not shrink back and charges. Thinking of this, Lin Swecken smiled coldly. He is not afraid of you taking the lead, but he is afraid that if you don't take the lead, he will be in trouble if you really shrink back. However, my side stands on the basis of righteousness and starts from the commanding heights. This wonderful pen can't see the situation clearly. Opening Weibo and taking a closer look at Miyabi's 2 Weibo posts, Lin Swecken suddenly laughed with disdain in his eyes. Do you really think you have a lot of fans with this wonderful pen? In Lin Swecken's view, the reason why Susian series shot to the top of the list was entirely because of the painting style. He had to admit that the other party's painting style combined with the book greatly increased the appetite, and even he was tempted to arrive. But, even so, trying to gather millions of fans overnight is a fantasy. And today he asked his editor, who said that the reason why Susian series ranked first was because of the large number of rewards. In terms of subscriptions, it was still far behind the Saint. This means that maybe after midnight today, the other party will fall off the sales list. After all, the reader's enthusiasm was burst out in the first episode. After a while, there will be no big emotion, so it is impossible to be rewarded continuously. Seeing that the number of followers of the other party continued to rise, it changed after refreshing. However, Lin Swecken did not have any feelings of envy and jealousy, but was very sarcastic. As for the number of more than 20,000 comments, he said that this clever stroke was not stupid enough, and he still knew also check the number of comments, otherwise flaws will soon be revealed. The reason why Lin Swecken believed that the other party was a fan was entirely because Miyabi was a newcomer. And he himself has been a cartoonist for 20 years, and he has never seen any newcomer achieve success overnight. This kind of dreamy thing can only be satisfied by a brush. Returning to the QQ group, Lin Swecken typed, "This clever guy obviously thinks he has a lot of fans, but in fact it seems that his IQ is not enough. Since the other party wants to slap himself in the face, we will continue, but at 9 o'clock he should buy the Navy. At that time, he was take good care of the people you target. No problem. Receive." In their eyes, even if Tencent Animation ranks first in sales and its statistics are incredible, it will not receive so much attention on Weibo. You know, countless novel authors and cartoonists cannot do this if they want to convert readers into loyal fans. As human beings, unless they are different, most people's IQs are at the average level. What's more, in modern society is developing extremely fast. Netizens who have accepted the explosion of the internet have already experienced many, various gates, rhythms, trolls, etc. Some of the shady stories are very clear. People's sanity has been strengthened, and it is impossible for a person to read only one cartoon and be loyal to one cartoonist. They read and follow whoever draws well, but no one stipulates that one person can only follow one person, so many readers like several or even a dozen cartoonists. So when a cartoonist wants to attack another cartoonist, but as a fan of both cartoonists, who will he help? The two do not help each other or stand on the word reason. This is why Lin Swecken is so sure. Myobi obviously doesn't know about this situation, and the opponent's rhythm is very obvious. In this case, only a fool would follow the opponent's rhythm, right? In addition to the limitations of the inner area, he has never seen any comic book artist with more than 1 million followers on Weibo. Thinking of this, Lin Swecken is not worried at all. He wants to see how Myobi will play at 9 o'clock. He is waiting to see the joke. Just when Lin Swecken was in a relaxed mood, the comic book artists in the Salted Fish concentration camp were also stunned when they saw this. This Myobi is too reckless. He started to set the tone right away. Are you sure his fans will follow him? He doesn't even speak politely. This, I can't guess, but I think there should be something interesting at 9 o'clock. Alas, it would be better if Myobi didn't show up. This kind of battle happens every day on the internet. Wouldn't it be over if he disappeared for a few days? Obviously, although he is not on the same path as Lin Swecken, the people in the Salted Fish concentration camp have similar ideas. Master Yi, a famous artist in the Tencent animation area, has only more than 700,000 followers on Weibo now, and he has accumulated so many fans after many years of operation. As a result, Myobi has gathered 1 million followers in less than half a day. This is obviously impossible. Of course, although they think that the other party has bought zombie fans, the people in the Salted Fish concentration camp still hope that Myobi can win this battle. After all, Myobi is the first person to reach the top of the sales list in the past 10 years. And it was when the Saint was at its peak. If they had such a great achievement, they would have been inflated and pretended to be cool every day.